Hello everyone, welcome back to Wonder of Faith. I'm Anthony Bush, and today we're going to be moving right along and exploring the wondrous orders. So in this episode, we're going to talk about external relations and how our God-given missions and abilities aid others and help others. So last time we talked about character, which is mainly centered around love of the self, and now we're moving to love of others and how and what part we play in others' lives. But before we begin, I'm going to remind everyone, the Wondrous Orders, this is what we're talking about. It's my book, I self-published, and it is available on Amazon. So if you want to follow along as I do the video series, you're more than welcome to get a copy for $16. Otherwise, just keep on watching, and we'll make it through the whole thing, hopefully within the year. So now moving right along, today we're talking about external relations, which is a fancy word for saying our relationship to other people outside of ourselves. So starting off, for the doctrine of external relations, it states, in order to strengthen the love within ourselves and have that love continually thrive, we must approach others and be a part of their journey as well. We must love all in order to be like Christ and in order to live as we were designed to. So when we discuss love, we usually refer to it in regard to another person, whether that be romantic love, love of friendship, or even love of admiration. All these things point to a connection between two people, ourselves being one end and of course another being the other. And therefore it's different from the love of self because it includes the sentiments and the desires of another person that's not our own selves. And therefore, in a way, it's more complex. So today we're going to dive into the role that love of others play and how it strengthens us on our journey to serve God ever more perfectly. So starting out with rule number 1, build the bridge of relationships with all those possible in order to find friendship and strengthen it. So it's important that we realize that we can't go at it alone. It can be very tempting at times to feel like others may corrupt us or may influence us for the worse, and that's definitely true. But we have to be able to put ourselves out there and allow others to aid us on the journey. Because as the church, for instance, we're not all individuals seeking God independently from one another. We are truly one body made up of many people, many souls, each with their own gifts, talents, and ideas. And so it's important to reach out to them because through others we're able to learn what we need to work on, what faults we have. And through this process, we then become better people. So no matter who we meet in life, if we've just met someone or if someone we've known for a long time, we should always be keen on strengthening the relationship with them. Because as we get to know people, we understand them better. We understand what they've been through, their experiences. We learn to be better people with more diverse understandings. And that's important because from childhood on to natural death, we become more complex people, better people. And that's the whole point of life. We're put here so that we can reach heaven. And through that path to heaven, we become more complex and we see the world in new and interesting ways, which is important. Side note, seeing the world from different perspectives doesn't mean that we abandon our Christian identity. We always see the goal of life to pursue God in everything and to be true to Him and His ideals that He gave us through the church. Number 2, do not allow relations with others to warp or weaken the truth. So going right along with what I said, because we're friends with someone, because we care about someone, does not mean that we have to automatically take what they say as true or give in to their desires or ideas. Now, I think it's important that we learn through friendships that even though we care for someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are that person or we are to become that person. We have to seek out the good in them and what they have that we don't, that can better us, and then apply it to our own lives, without at the same time allowing, let's say, the negative features of the person to affect us and weaken our ability to find the will of God in life. Number 3, in friendship, Aid others by giving of your time and efforts. So friendships don't happen immediately. Time, effort has to be put in. We have to listen to others and allow them to hear us as well, because the more time and effort that one puts into friendship, the stronger the bond becomes, and the more the two understand each other. On marriage, it's that on a exponential scale, because now not only are you putting effort, but you're putting your whole self, your whole being into the relationship with the other, and hopefully to eventually have children, have a family. And that takes up a lot of time, and it's a life's work, a marriage, or even being a parent. And so it's not just going to happen because we simply want it to, but we have to want it and then work for it and obtain it with the help of God, of course. So hopefully we never get into a comfort zone where we hope that friendships or new relationships start on their own, because without our ability to put time in and will it and work for it, then it won't happen as we want it to or as it's meant to. Number 4, in prayer, reflect on those who live in darkness and pray for their aid. So we've talked about prayer in the past, and we're going to continue that theme through this video as well. If you're truly friends with someone or you truly care about someone, then prayer must be a part of that, whether you pray together with them or, more importantly, you pray for them, because you should not just want their temporal good, but their spiritual good as well. You want them to get to heaven and find God in the greatest capacity that they're capable of. And to do that, we pray for them, and we hope and will the spiritual benefit of that person. So I think in this day and time especially, friendship is seen as a surface term or a material understanding where we just care about their feelings, or we care about their wants or what they think. And there's something that underlies that, especially in a Christian-based friendship, because it's not just about what I or that person wants, it's also about what God wants. And as long as we pray that they may find the will of God and may live it out, then the friendship will hold that extra weight to it and be that much more special of a relationship. Number 5, never practice gossip, as it is a degradation of all involved. So I know everyone's guilty of it, and it's hard to avoid sometimes, but we've all wanted to belong, and we've all wanted to say something that catches others' attention. And sometimes an easy way is to talk about someone else and say something that perhaps the group doesn't know. And though it helps in the short term to get attention or to allow us to become more friendly with people, in the long term, we have hurt that person that we're talking about and have painted a negative picture in others' minds. Because in the end, there's no true good reason why another friend needs to know about what one friend's going through, unless it's to aid them or help them in some way. But I think a lot of time it's just a party piece or some statement we can throw out just to catch people's eye or ear. And it's important that we avoid that, because how can we be trusted if we're telling everyone what we've learned and what we've sworn to in secrecy or intimacy with a friend or even a spouse? So it's important to going into any social situation to remind ourselves that we're here to be friends to the people we're with at that moment, and that involving others in a superficial way and spouting gossip about them has nothing to do with the current situation, and only is out there to hurt us as people who are supposed to be caring for this person, and also the people we're talking about. So as long as we keep that in mind as we socialize, we're good to go, and we can keep the conversation pleasant and away from bullying or hurting others in the process. Number 6. Number 6. Be vigilant in removing unjust anger from the heart in order to strengthen relations. So every relationship, marriage or friendship or whatnot, comes to a point where there's conflict. It's natural, it's unavoidable. And when this conflict occurs, it can either destroy the friendship and be blown greatly out of proportion, or it can be resolved. And it's, of course, through resolution that we hope that the conflict goes through. everyone makes mistakes, and we may do something that hurts someone else, and hopefully we didn't mean to hurt the person, but it happened that way, that we did something, we made a wrong step. And through the care that we have for this person, we should feel guilt to an extent, and we should try our best to amend the situation if it's possible. Sometimes there are just acts that are too great of a burden on this person to be easily dismissed at that moment. It may take time. Sadly, it may never be resolved, because a person, if their trust is violated to its deepest level, then it can be hard for them to fully recover and go back to the way it was before. But if we've hurt someone, we have to be understanding to their anger, to their being upset. But at the same time, we should tell them we're sorry and try to make reparations. That's what we're called to do. And on the flip end, if we're angry, if someone's hurt us in some way, we have the right to be angry, but in the end, we can't let it drag on forever, because we know we're going to make mistakes just as they did. And in the end, we have to forgive them, and we have to try to strengthen the relationship and get it back on the right track. It can be hard. It can be pretty much flat out impossible, but of course, I'm going to say what every Christian should say, that with God, nothing is impossible, including getting back into a relationship that is strong and that is good, even if mistakes have been made. Number 7, seek to understand others' gifts and beauty in God. This is vital, because to be friends with someone, we should see the good in them. We should see what they're capable of, and we should learn from it and allow it to better us. And to see the gifts that God has given this person in a friendship or in marriage is to allow ourselves to better understand how the relationship operates. What do you have in the relationship that I don't have? And how can we work with one another to strengthen each other? And so this also includes us being able to tell them or show them our gifts, because they're doing the same thing or should be doing the same thing. So through time, as people grow closer together in friendship or in marriage, they should learn one another's strengths as well as weaknesses, so that they can better understand the relationship and how it's to function, because every relationship is different, because you have different people, different ideals, different gifts. And therefore, it's impossible for one relationship to operate exactly the same as another. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why in marriage, the relationship is so strong, so sacramental, that it's almost as if two are becoming one person, one new, unique person spiritually. And so through these processes, through the patience and giving of time to talk about it, to understand it, the relationship can become that much stronger and that much more beneficial physically and spiritually. Number 8, spread the faith and act in triumph as to aid others in the journey. So, if we're truly friends with someone and we have an idea of what we need to do to be faithful Christians, Catholics, and reach heaven, it therefore follows that we should also be willing to give this information to the friend. The friend can be atheist, they can be non-Christian, they can be Christian. No matter who it is, a significant part of us as a friend to another is our Christian Catholic identity. And therefore, we shouldn't be afraid to share it. I get a joy out of sharing the traditions of the church and talking about its many beautiful facets. And I think it's interesting to other people and to friends, even if they don't practice it or understand it. But over time, they get a fuller picture of the church and of the Christian faith as a whole. And hopefully, as time goes on, they can understand it the best they possibly can, and hopefully convert down the line, God will it. But yeah, it's important to bring faith to the friendship, even if both sides don't see the value of it. Because we as Christians hope that everyone will become faithful Christians one day, either here through purgatory and heaven. And so why not start now? It's easier down here than up there, is what we're told. So might as well make it a part. And that doesn't mean to bash them or preach at them all the time. But it does mean to be Christian present, to be present in the faith that makes us who we are. Because denying that isn't showing them who we really are, it's just putting up a facade, which is the last thing one wants to do if they're trying to make genuine friends or have a genuine marriage. Number 9. Do not argue, but instead discuss views as to reason with those who are opposed to God's will in some way. So there's going to be disagreements, as we've talked about, and sometimes these enter the realm of the faith. Someone may just not understand a point, or they may be confused about something. And so it's not going to be helpful to argue or get angry about it, but it is going to be helpful to be calm and to answer their question to the best of your ability. And if you don't know the answer, look it up for sure. Because to expose them to truth, slowly but surely, and as they want it to come forward, then it becomes a relationship that is genuine, because you're not just there to argue with them or change their mind, but you're there to honestly give truth to what they're asking. And over time, like I said, that Christian image that they have will become more and more true to the reality that it is. Number 10, debate cautiously and only when necessary, for a bad debate is fruitless and leads to combativeness and sin. So I've watched a few Catholic debates myself here on YouTube, and I hear time and time again that those involved do not like the word debate. And the reason being, when you say the word debate, you automatically think of something that is aggressive or something that is combative. And therefore, those involved are not going to be open to the mindsets of others. They're going to hold on to their beliefs and try to put it forward aggressively and ram it down the throat of the opponent. And that doesn't get anywhere, because both sides are just screaming or trying to argue that they're right, and no one's really listening to the other except to respond. Discussions are better value if you're in nonchalant situation where you're not putting someone on the spot and you're just talking and you answer their questions and you share what you believe in truth of the church. And over time, they may come to understand what is true, as we've said before. And finally, number 11. Find examples of a strong faith in others to add strength to the personal journey. So one of the best friends you can have is someone who shares your passion for the faith. Because when two people who are honestly trying to get to heaven together will work at it and will the best for one another, that's what, in my mind, the ideal version of marriage is. For like a Catholic marriage who want to raise their children in the faith and are trying to help one another reach salvation, that's the top of the pyramid right there. And friendships can be the same way. Especially if both are intellectually involved in the faith and read and just want to learn all they can, then that's going to be very fruitful, because as a friend, as two friends or more, you're trying to reach a common goal and you're working together and you're sharing your insights and you're building on one another. And as that building occurs, you become more and more friendly and more united in your cause, and that's very important. Everyone has dreams. Everyone has those things that they're working toward. And to have someone share that with them is very valuable. So we've reached the end, and I'm going to leave today with a thought. Try to find or think of the friends that you have that are genuine. What friends truly care about what you want? What friends are willing to put in the time and the effort to make you happy or want to understand you? And really work on them and give back to them, because those are probably the friends that are going to be with you for a lifetime. Thank you for joining today. I'm going to leave in the description below the link to the book on Amazon. And as always, leave a comment if you have or want to talk about something in particular, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. May God be with you and bless you.